Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions on Brandon's work and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
Also joining me, because we're going to talk about a subject near and dear to his heart, is Matt.
Hey, I'm also Comatose on the forums and Discord.
And I'm Chaos. And we don't have any news really this week. So
as of recording this podcast, we still don't have news.
We don't.
Brandon drops a new secret project tomorrow.
Nope. It's all good. So what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about Nightblood. And we actually posted a Nightblood podcast long ago in 2016. Yeah. Talking about Nightblood and Corrupted Investiture. It's not on YouTube, but it is on SoundCloud. And there's been stuff occurring since Oathbringer, because we also meet someone named Azure in Oathbringer and her Shardblade. And so we're going to talk about all that stuff right now. So last time we saw Nightblood was at the end of Words of Radiance, which was one of the craziest things about that book, where just Nightblood's here, and Nail has Nightblood, and now Zeth will have him.
Well, technically the last time we saw him before Oathbringer was an Edge Dancer.
Well, that's true. True.
But again, a very limited role.
Yes.
Not.
So we were going to go talk about some new stuff that we've learned about Nightblood from Words of Brandon since our last podcast on Nightblood. And then we're going to talk about Azure and her Shardblade, and we're going to talk about all those things. And probably the most important thing to remember, as we talked about last time, is that Nightblood is way more invested than the 1,000 Breaths would imply.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this Word of Brandon.
Yule Rule asked, he had his question written down and Brandon was reading it. How much compounding would a Nigrosyl twinborn would need to do to get a metal mine that is as vested as Nightblood? Brandon starts reading it and says, "Wow, so much." Then wrote in the book, "Wow, so much." Okay. And continuing on, 1,000 breaths doesn't seem to be that much. The God King has tens of thousands. Would a piece of stone, wood, cloth, or plain metal that has 1,000 breaths be as invested as Nightblood, or is there something more? No, it needs more. Yule Rule. More? Brandon, yeah. Yule Rule tries to ask a little bit more about Nigrosyl, but there's some inaudible parts, and Brandon just raffos that.
Yep.
So, lots of investiture.
Lots more investiture.
Yeah.
And
remember that Brandon has said that Nightblood is the most invested object in the Cosmere.
Yep. And there's this implication that the black smoke was some kind of corrupted mixing of investiture, and that there's some other influence on Nightblood.
Yeah, there was shenanigans.
Yes.
Yeah. Or that at least the regular investiture is being twisted or manipulated in some way.
Because since Oathbringer, we know corrupted investiture is usually red.
That is
enough
true.
To the point where it's like Shalash sees red investiture and it's like, oh, that's corrupted. Those things are very closely tied.
Yep.
Although, not all the Spren who get corrupted are red necessarily.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
I think red is definitely a sign, but it might not be
the only sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's when it's the investiture is being co-opted, not just being affected.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Or some sort of active thing happening.
Yeah, because the Oathgate spren turned red, and that's putting them directly under like Odium's control. And we see that with Gliss.
Yeah.
But
True.
yeah, normal spren, it's just changing their like composition, I guess.
Yeah.
So Nash and Elin, and this is a paraphrased conversation, but asks about what Seth means when he refers to Nightblood as Sword Nimi and what the Nimi ending is. And Brandon says it's an honorific. And Nash and Elin asks, why does he call it Sword and not use its name? And Brandon says it has not told him its name. And we know that Nightblood isn't actually the sword's original name. Vasher renamed it that after killing Shashara with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nightblood's not the original name, which is a thing that's very easy to forget.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. If you like word search Nightblood in the Stormlight archive, you don't get any hits. Which is kind of weird because like you think about it and you're like, oh, well, Nightblood's in so many scenes, but like it's never called by name or by that name. So.
Oh, man.
And does Nightblood ever introduce itself in Warbreaker? Like, does he ever refer to itself as Nightblood?
He doesn't with Vasher. I'm trying to think if he introduces himself to Vivenna, but I'm pretty sure Vasher does. Like, I'm pretty sure Vasher says, oh, that's Nightblood or something. Like first he tests her with it. Or maybe, no, it's later when she decides to stick around after she's, like, homeless for a bit. And I think I'm pretty sure Vasher introduces them.
Yeah, so like.
Well, I mean, does Nightblood itself ever introduce itself?
Yeah,
as Nightblood?
And that's like I don't think so because I think Vivenna might have been the only person besides Seth where it would have gotten that opportunity.
Okay, yeah, okay.
In the books, and
because
that is interesting.
We know a lot of Nightblood's perceptions of the worlds when he was first created are kind of like hard coded into its psyche. Yeah. So it's like to Nightblood, Shashara will always be alive and Vasher will always be proud of him.
Yeah.
So like I wonder if like his original name is imprinted in its mind and like Nightblood not so much.
You would think so, right? I think it would.
But it's still interesting that Nightblood hasn't given Seth any name.
Yeah. That is odd.
I kind of wonder if Nightblood just like assumes everyone knows its name. You know, like it's just kind of like, you know, like it's not something that would occur to it. Like, oh, like maybe it doesn't even think, like it's just like I am whatever its like identity as a sentient object is. And that's its like, who knows if it could even put that into words, and it just is like, oh, I'm this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. I just wonder why Brandon's been so coy with that original name. That's a big mystery with what that original
I'm guessing
name
he's
is.
saving that for the Nightblood sequel.
Well, it
or
could
the sequel
also,
to Warbreaker.
But it could also be like Stormlight too. Stormlight as well, because
that's true.
I mean, the Nightblood sequel is the Warbreaker sequel is prior to Stormlight, right? So clearly Brandon has a reason for bringing Nightblood to Stormlight and it being important.
I just feel like if the title of the book is Nightblood, I mean, we should probably get its story in that book.
I mean, you're correct. Yeah.
It's going to be hard for him, I think, to come up. Like, Nightblood is such a suiting and, like, cool name. Like, I kind of wonder if the fandom is going to have what they're going to think of, like, a different name for this character weapon thing.
Because you're all just like, oh, it's Nightblood.
It's pretty iconic, right? In terms of Cosmere.
I don't think we are going to change what we call it.
It's just like we don't call Vasher Talaxin or Warbreaker or Peacegiver or
Strife Lover.
Strife Lover, yeah.
None of which are his original name before he died anyway, so.
Yeah,
Well,
we still don't know
yeah.
that either.
Yeah, we don't know. That's because I think the oldest we know is Talaxin.
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If
Unless
I remember.
Warbreaker is older than that, because it was
No.
when he first returned. But
Oh, no. Yeah, Warbreaker would be the oldest, I think.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of other things about Nightblood's creation, there were various words of Brandon asking about his sheath, where Brandon says, "Oh, it's Cosmere significant," but later Brandon said, "Nightblood's sheath is aluminum."
Which, thank you for finally clearing that up, because like it's that's one of those things where it's like the fandom is like, oh, it has to be aluminum. Like, what else could it be? Like,
What else would it block investiture? But
Yeah.
also aluminum's brittle, so it doesn't really make sense. But we'll just gloss over that part.
Yeah. Like some of the scenes where the one fused is using the sheath to like block Nightblood. Like makes sense in some ways, but like you have to wonder about the weight of Nightblood. And
Well, Cosmere aluminum isn't real aluminum, really.
yeah.
Like, there's definitely it's an alloy of aluminum and handweavium, because that's the only way it can do some of the things it does.
Maybe it is an aluminum alloy. Maybe that works just as well. I don't know.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, even if it was brittle, like Shardblades and presumably possibly Nightblood as well kind of ignore, like, they're able to cut through stone like it's air.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that something brittle that couldn't withstand it can block it isn't necessarily super weird. Even
Magic.
Though it is. Yeah.
Magic. Yeah.
So, for this next one, the questioner asked, so if Nightblood unsheathed killed someone, would their soul still go to the beyond? So that's going to be a matter of, there's going to be disagreement in the Cosmere about that. Nobody has been able to actively test it because there are certain things you can see, but there are people who are actively discussing this concept. So no one knows for sure. Nobody knows for sure. And I'll just leave it at that. It's an astute question that even Vasher has. Vasher has his thoughts, but he does not have a definitive answer, and others disagree with him.
I like that he doesn't tell us what Vasher thinks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
Because
Vasher
you could
has
really see
opinions.
it going either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked Brandon if Nightblood killed Fused, if they would be able to reincarnate, and he raffoed me. So that's kind of getting at the same idea, right?
Yeah.
Because if the souls were able to go to the beyond, then I would say the answer to the Fused would be yes. They could totally reincarnate, right?
Well, no.
Because Nightblood could be like breaking some sort of bond that is bringing the Fused back.
I guess that's true.
Without preventing them from going. And they don't go to the beyond, do they?
No,
they do not.
Cycle?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if the soul is broken enough by Nightblood, then it wouldn't be able to go to the beyond, right? And if they were able to, like, pass through the realms when it's passing, then the similar damage wouldn't really happen to the Fused.
Yeah.
See, personally, like, I think souls would still go to the beyond. But that's, like, my personal, like, not really basing that off of anything, just...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much we're ever even going to get about the beyond, right?
Yeah.
Very little, like, if anything.
You'd probably have to just, like, witness it in the other realms, right? To see someone dying in the other realm and try and witness their soul passing, I guess. That'd be the only way to test it, per se.
Watch in the cognitive realm and see if they stretch, because they stretch or something, right? And then
they stretch and extend into a point.
Yeah. Matt, why didn't
which,
you do
like, that's like just a cool visual. Like, it's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
because it shouldn't work like that. And it's like, so you can, like, imagine it. This does not work with my understanding of reality. Like, but which makes sense when, like, passing into, like, the afterlife should break physics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so someone asked, so Hoyd was not afraid of a Shardblade. Would he be afraid of Nightblood? Brandon says, every rational person who's ever existed in the Cosmere is afraid of Nightblood, or should be. Hoyd isn't always rational, but yes, he is afraid of him. So
I would think that Nightblood is one of the few things that could actually hurt Hoid.
Yeah, and if in case you forgot, Hoid has extreme healing abilities where he would heal from spiritual wounds like Shardblades inflict.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, like we know, like even Stormlight can heal spiritual, like Shardblade wounds to some extent.
But the fact that Hoid really doesn't care about that. It's got some extreme healing abilities.
And I think it's also, like Nightblood, especially when it's drawn, like completely destroys people's physical forms. So most forms of healing, assuming that effect works on everyone, most forms of healing aren't going to be able to bring you back from that. From being dissolved into
something
black mist.
to grow back from.
Yes.
Which it's interesting because we see with Kelsier has a new body. And the heralds get new bodies. Well, we don't know how that really works.
No.
Do they get new bodies? Does their old body just get transported with them? Like, I don't know. It's weird. The Fuse just like steal bodies, so it.
Yeah. That would be an interesting twist if, like, the heralds were also stealing bodies.
Yeah,
like
I don't think they do.
I don't think so, but
yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
because like the implication seems to be that they kind of look the same as they always have.
Yeah,
that's definitely the impression the prelude gives.
Yeah.
Oh, this one is a good question. This next one, Matt.
Oh yeah. So this one came about from some workshopping. I think right. Was it with you two?
Probably.
Like Eric?
I mean, I know I had a role in...
Yeah, I know you were there.
Yeah.
And I think Ian might have been too.
We all don't remember.
We definitely workshop.
You don't remember? Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I asked this question at the release party, but we workshopped it together, and was Nightblood black before being awakened by Shashera? And Brandon said no. And it's what this question is getting at is what was Nightblood made out of before it was awakened, which Brandon has raffoed consistently. So that's why we're trying to narrow the scope of what it could possibly be.
Something not black. I mean,
but
and also something about the awakening process then turned Nightblood black, which is an interesting effect.
Yeah, because when lifeless are awakened, they turn to grayscale.
Yes.
Basically. But it's interesting that Nightblood was drained to black instead of to gray or white, which is and that kind of reminds me of Nightblood has a breath aura that's different than the real things. One.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the God King is able to drain things to white, and black is able to be used as a color in Awakening. Like white or gray can't be used as color, but black.
Well, you can use gray. It's just
if you're at a high enough heightening. Yeah. But black can be used as Awakening, but then Nightblood, so it's Nightblood isn't getting leached of color, it's getting color added almost.
Oh, true.
And also Nightblood makes colors more intense as well.
Yeah.
Nightblood deepens colors. Traditional breath auras brighten colors. Yeah. I think that's the color terminology, if I'm remembering correctly.
One would assume then that whatever extra stuff made Nightblood what it is also made it black.
Yeah.
Seems pretty safe to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's when we get to Azure's Blade, of course, Azure's Blade is silvery.
Yep.
Which is what you would expect from Awakened Metal.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
The questioner asked, so if a Type 4 biochromatic entity like Nightblood was created with a different command, would it still draw in or feed off of somebody's breath when they drew it? It is possible to create one that wouldn't, but it is a dangerous thing to do.
That is... I mean, that could be what Azure's Blade does.
Yeah. But
like she doesn't seem to be... Like, she draws it several
totally
times.
Mhm.
And she's also, like... It's hinted that she's awakening while she's using it.
I mean, this could be... Because there is this weirdness in creating Nightblood, Brandon could be saying it's a dangerous thing to do if you did the weird things that Nightblood had, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's not... I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
Well, because we also see with, like, the Honor Blades require investiture. Like, they drain dangerous amounts of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
But only when using the powers, right? Like, you could hold an Honor Blade.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
it's
you
when
could
you
just
search
hold
mind.
it.
I think it's when you search mind, that it uses a lot.
Yeah.
But then again, like, Nightblood only, like, drains when you're using it.
Yeah, when it's drawn, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Yep.
It's just a little harder to control, obviously, than
the
Honor Blades.
Slightly, yes.
Yeah.
Then this one, does Nightblood annihilate investiture? Brandon, investiture cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change forms. But anything more than that is a Rapho. So
there is an older wob about, like, Nightblood is permanently reducing the amount of investiture in the Cosmere, which this kind of amends that. Because like, people started freaking out about that. And Brandon was like, I think Brandon said that, but, like, it doesn't actually work that way.
And I think sometimes people get caught up in some of these questions. Like, there's, like, investiture locally, and then there's, like, investiture on the cosmic scale.
Yeah.
And so I think on the cosmic scale, it's never created or destroyed, but Nightblood might be destroying investiture as it currently is.
Yeah.
In the moment, it's just not reducing the total sum.
Yeah. It's transforming it into some...
Yeah.
A form that is not easily accessible by, like...
Or probably just, like, going back into the spiritual realm and, however, like, stuff regenerates or something.
Like he could be destroying it in that he's sending it to the beyond, right? And then it might filter back in to the world. However,
maybe
the hooky stuff works. Okay. So first selector asks, can Nightblood be dismissed like a Rosharon Blade? And Brandon says he thinks you could.
Which is adorable.
Which is, Nightblood's personality is kind of he's capable or it's capable of anything. So this doesn't really tell us much of objective, like, fact, but it does help with Nightblood's character.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, I don't think it could.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't. Because the reason why Shardblades can be dismissed is because they're kind of this part physical cognitive realm, and they're, like, passing between, right? Whereas Nightblood was, like, created in the physical realm.
Yeah.
And
like, from, like, a physical object.
Right.
From a physical object, right. So, like, yes, it has a cognitive component because it's been made sentient, but that's embedded in this, like, physical object. So, yeah, I don't think that mechanic would work.
I agree. And also, there's probably some amount, like, because it's so invested, there's so much investiture on this metal, that probably would make it even harder to do. I don't know.
Although,
maybe
lots
easier,
of investiture elsewhere makes it easier to transition.
Well, that's true, but...
Yeah.
So, who knows? But, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there's another quote that's talking about the Sheath. So many Sheath things, but the Sheath isn't an original part of Nightblood.
Yes, it was added later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think some people were wondering, just because the Sheath has such an impact on Nightblood, it almost seems like they were designed together, which they might have been, but it was two different processes. It wasn't made as part of the same.
Yeah.
Well,
I do want to read this part.
Okay.
The Sheath was not part of the original Awakening, and it's not part of the intent or anything like that. I'm not saying it wasn't there ready for it, but it is not part of the sword in the same way.
Yeah.
And that intent, it's like you have to form a picture of the command in your brain when you're awakening.
Right.
So it's not like Shashara, when she was awakening it, was imagining, oh, and when you go in your sheath, you don't do your crazy stuff. You know, like that wasn't part of her.
Yeah.
Right. It's just the aluminum part.
Yeah. And I think this implies that the sheath could be replaced. Like if you got a new aluminum sheath.
Yeah, I imagine so.
I wonder if there's something here that, like, yes, it's aluminum, but like there's something more to it than it's just made of aluminum. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we know that, like, Brandon has implied that, like, hemalurgic spikes for Kandra, like, there's something special about that. Yeah, it's two spikes, but, like, there's something, like, they're made as a set.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. And hemalurgy intent, capital I intent, is also important in hemalurgy.
Capital I intent.
So,
yeah, intention.
It would be kind of be similar to how the visualization is important for commands.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
There's another quote that's Brandon just saying, yep, Nightblood's the most invested item revealed so far. And then another one about the Sheath, where Nightblood's not the same material as the Sheath.
Which you can't awaken aluminum, so.
Right.
Although it is interesting that you can, I'm assuming, we don't know the effect yet, use aluminum for hemalurgy, right?
Yes. I think that's a function of, like, the metallic arts being the metallic arts, so, like, that's very much an exception to
the rule.
Yeah, because, like, you can fill, you can use aluminum as a metal mind.
Yeah, as well.
I kind of wonder if you think about. Actually, that is really weird to think about.
I kind of wonder if you like, that's why I kind of wonder if Ruin and Preservation were doing something intentional. Like, I know it's part of their nature, blah blah blah, but I wonder if there wasn't some intentionality to choosing, like, or to metals becoming their focus, because it does kind of give those magic systems an advantage in what how they're able to interact with things like god metals and aluminum, you know?
Yeah.
But
it's we know that magic systems are not designed by the shards.
Yeah.
But they can have an influence over them.
Yeah.
And they literally created the planet of Scadrial.
Right.
So could they create a planet in such a way that they can anticipate what magics would be created there?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, yeah, because magics come about between the shards and their interactions with the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the three realms.
But yeah, I think if you try to awaken aluminum, you might just lose your breath. Like, it might
it would not work.
Oh, it just wouldn't. You think it just wouldn't work at all. Like, you would keep your breath and it wouldn't, like, go into the aluminum.
Ooh. I don't know,
like,
actually.
I agree. I don't think the aluminum would wake up, but I wonder if it would do that, like, kind of leecher.
Like, absorb
where
it.
you put your breath in.
Yeah.
And then just nothing happens and your breath is gone.
It's like, it would work the same way that if you put a soul stamp onto aluminum would work. But I don't know how that works. So,
yeah.
It's like, my instinct was that it just would fail. But, like, ooh, maybe it would draw it in.
Well, right, because soul stamps use such little investiture by itself, right? So, Whereas if you're
'Cause
actually
they're
using
drawing
like
the door. Yeah.
right, if you're using 50 breaths, like, do I get those back? Do I not get those back? That would be important for tests.
That's a really good question that I need to add that to my list.
Yeah.
Do you want to read this next one, Matt?
Sure. So someone asked, could two kinds of Spren talk to each other? Or so could Syl talk to Nightblood? And Brandon says, yes, that is possible. Definitely. Which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I want that to happen, of course.
Yeah. I really want, because Seth has a Spren now that we haven't heard from. I really want like Seth's like high Spren and Nightblood to be like the angel and devil on his shoulders.
That is perfect. I need fan art of this now, people.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah, arguing over what Seth should do.
Destroy evil, follow the rules.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting to think about, because if you play D&D, like law and chaos and good and evil are two different axes of alignment. So it's like that's covering both of them. Like,
yeah. Yep. Do you want to do this one, the Megasif one, Ian?
Yeah, I will. Okay, so Megasif asked, in London, I wanted to ask about Nightblood. The way he is invested, is it a one-off case kind of thing, or is it possible to do another of that level? Brennan, it was really bizarre, and I will explain it eventually, and that will let you know why. It's theoretically possible to do almost anything, so it's theoretically possible to do what he did, but it'd be very hard.
Nightblood's construction is weird. What's new?
Yeah.
But could be making those.
Yeah. So, like, there's more than just repeating the steps.
Yeah. And so, like, Vasher killed Shashera because he was worried she was going to make more of Nightblood, right?
Yeah.
And if that concern is she going to make swords like the one Azure has, that seems a little less dangerous than like creating another Nightblood. So I kind of wonder.
I don't think Vasher, I think Vasher thinks, if they do that, follow those steps again, they're getting something as bad as Nightblood.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's not going to try and test that theory.
No.
But this ties in one of the few things we know about Nightblood, the book, is that Yestiel knows knows the process. Yeah. And so they deal with Yestiel in the next book.
Yep.
Yeah. And I wonder if I kind of wonder if the Venice Blade, for example, might be one Yestiel created.
I mean,
even for all we know,
how about we delay this conversation?
Yeah,
a little bit,
because
we should probably talk about Azure. But just one more quote asks if were Vasher and Nightblood separated before or after coming to Roshar, and Brandon said after hesitating that they were separated after.
Yeah, which I think makes sense. But it does mean that Vasher didn't come to Roshar looking for Nightblood.
Yeah. Well, he came there so he could, feed off Stormlight rather than breaths.
Instead of breath, yeah.
That's not a huge mystery. But in other words, that means that the Nightblood book presumably is not Vasher losing Nightblood.
No. Correct.
Yeah. Because that would still be on
I'm pretty sure Brandon has explicitly said that.
Yeah.
Or that if it doesn't get touched on in Nightblood the book, he would reveal it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like the Nalthus essay.
Yep, still waiting on that.
Yep.
Yep. So, as we have alluded to several times at this stage, we see Azure in this book, who is Vivenna.
Yes.
If you didn't know, because remember that part in Shadesmar where Caledon, Adolin, and Azure are all doing the same kata from their swordsmaster, who's Zahel, who is Vasher? Ah, yes, and Azure is hunting down Nightblood, so Azure, definitely Vivenna.
Or when her hair changes color
Yeah,
at one point.
like it's pretty clear that Azure is Vivenna and looking for Nightblood, and does think that Vasher is a criminal somehow.
Yeah. And she might not be aware. It's not clear she's aware that Vasher and Nightblood are separated. Like, she might be, but it's not.
Well,
like, she's
here's
hunting
like
for
one
both
of the
them,
logical
right?
inconsistencies of the book, because like she knows that like Caledon and everyone knows where Zahel is, but she still like leaves them to go like to Honor Spren City, like searching for Nightblood.
Well, she knows they knew where he was. I agree, it is
That's
kind
true.
of a hole.
But it's like it's one question, like, do you know where Zahel is? Like, yeah, he should be back in Earthiru. Like,
Sup?
it's like,
yeah.
Yep. So let's read some of the quotes that we got about Azure's blade, Vivenna's blade. How about you start, Matt?
Sure. So in chapter 70, Caledon sees it for the first time, and it says, she wore a side sword with a glistening silver basket hilt that wasn't a Lethi design. Was it the aforementioned Shardblade? It did have an otherworldly look about it, but why wear it instead of dismissing it?
Well, the answer to that is obvious, because she can't.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, this next one, from chapter 77, men report seeing her sword cut through stone, but it has no gemstone. Which we know gemstones were added to Shardblades so that they could be bonded and dismissed.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, yeah, this is a hint if you don't know that it's something different from a Shardblade, that she could be a Knight Radiant, and that's kind of like Caledon is wondering if she's a Radiant or a Herald or has a Honor Blade.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
It is
definitely
interesting.
my theory. Like when I was first reading this, because at that point, like we didn't know that Vivenna was in this book, so it's like, it wasn't quite as obvious.
Yeah, but Brandon mentioned it quite a few times before Oathbringer came out. Oh yeah, you'll see Vivenna in Oathbringer.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's interesting. I kind of wonder how the otherworldly aspect of it, if that's just a product of it being made on Nalthis, so it's like Nalthis style sword making, or is it like otherworldly because it's awakened?
I think it's otherworldly because it was made on Nalthis, and it's like a Nalthis style basket hilt. So it's like he recognizes it as a basket hilt, but it doesn't look like one he's ever seen before.
Well, also Shardblades have pretty distinctive shapes that are like kind of related to kind of the Spren that they came from, right? Like you can kind of see that, and I would imagine that Vivenna's blade just doesn't have any of that ornamentation at all. It's just right, which would kind of add to that, you know, like you wouldn't like see any like markings on it. It would just be like a sword.
Or like Adelin's, I think, or Adelin's, I think, is described as having ripples or something, right? Like,
on the back
drawings
of
the drawings that Shalon does of the different Shardblades that are kind of ridiculous.
Right, and so it could be like weirdly like flat and not ornamented in that sense, you know?
Yeah. It's just because the Yezrian's Honor Blade isn't described as being fancy.
Yeah.
Either.
Well, that's true.
That's
true.
So
that
it's
certainly
like I
true.
think like a lot of Shardblades have that, but like it's not a definitive like.
Sure.
If it doesn't have this, it's not a Shardblade. Like,
and they also have regular swords too. So I'm not sure if he was just describing how regular it looked. If he would use the word otherworldly, like he might say it looked plain for a Shardblade.
Oh yeah. It's like
that's
if it
true.
looked,
but
all we know is that if Brandon uses the word otherworldly, that is a sign that it is otherworldly and not just like a regular thing.
Yeah.
This one's really cool from chapter 81. They saluted and Adolin stepped back. Azure had cut down her door, but her Shardblade wasn't as long as the other two. She was leading a more conservative attack, cutting the ends off spears as they rammed out toward her men. As he watched, she stabbed an enemy soldier who tried to push through. Remarkably, his eyes didn't burn, though his skin did go to a strange ashen gray as he died. Blood of my fathers, Adolin thought. What's wrong with her blade?
Which, it's not completely vaporizing people.
Yeah.
No. Which is what Nightblood does, but it's not doing what a Shardblade does either.
And strange ashen gray sounds like lifeless, right?
Yeah.
It's doing something very, like, what it's doing here, I think, feels right. We don't know why it's doing that, but just like how Awakening works, it's like, oh yeah, like, it sucks the color out of stuff. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
So I kind of wonder if it's not feeding off of the color in some way to, like, kill the,
maybe feeding off the color? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. That is a very interesting idea.
Because, like, color, like, there's something, like, special about color. Because, like, Awakening requires it.
Yep.
For reasons we don't understand.
Right.
So. And Nightblood also, like, if you hold them, like, it starts to drain your color.
Your color. Yeah. Sorry, one more thing. That is actually a good point, that Nightblood does start to drain color from its holder. So it could be that Nightblood would drain color if it didn't vaporize.
I mean, I would say that's a safe assumption, but Nightblood has that extra oomph and just vaporizes you instead. Like, oh, oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty safe.
Yeah.
Although,
who knows?
Okay, so from chapter 93, there's no friend here for my blade because it's flawed. I can't summon or dismiss it like you can yours. She's a handy weapon, but a pale copy of what you carry.
I like this one because it's referred to as she. So it's sentient and
sapient, probably.
Well, I mean, in the text they're referencing things as sentient. So they use the word sapient? I agree. But that's what Vasher calls it.
Yes, at least the fandom gets that right.
Yes.
Yeah. I kind of wonder about her describing it as flawed, if she's just calling it that because it's an imitation using a different magic system.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is.
Like, that's my hunch too, but, like, Nightblood is also described as weird or flawed or whatever. So, like, was this intended to be another Nightblood and it's, like, has a flaw? Like, I lean personally more towards it's just created with Awakening and that's why it's flawed, but
I could really see it going either way.
Why don't you read this last one, Matt?
So in 108, chapter 108, draw her carefully, Azure said to Borya, the first mate, as Shallan approached. Don't pull her out all the way. She doesn't know you. Good advice when you're meeting a new sword.
Yeah.
Borya wore a uniform like the captain's, all stiff and no nonsense. She undid a small latch on the Shardblade, eased it from its sheath a half inch, then drew in a sharp breath. It tingles. She's investigating you, Azure said. It really is as you say, Borya said. A Shardblade that requires no spren, no enslavement. This is something else. How did you do it? This is really interesting. First, you have that this is confirmation that Azure's blade does have some form of sentience or sapience.
Yep.
It's communicating in some way with the spren. And also you have it being drawn a half inch out of its sheath, which
is very much like Nightblood, yeah.
Which is like Nightblood, although Nightblood can talk in its sheath. Whereas here, it seems like Azure's blade needs to be pulled out of its sheath a little before it starts interacting.
Well,
with this new person.
Yeah, but, like, it's not about talking, it's like, it's the test. Because we know, like, Vasher, like, if you unlatch it, like, it gives you this test, like, and if you fail it, like, you, like, go murder hobo, and if you pass, like, you get sick.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So like, yeah,
I don't think the sword is trying to communicate with the Spren at all here.
It's investigating the Spren, which is what Azure.
Yeah,
no, that's a good point.
It is an interesting idea, though, that Nightblood doesn't really seem to have a problem with talking when it is in its sheath at all. And I mean, I'm sure Azure can talk to her blade when it is in her sheath, but I feel like it would be harder for her blade to talk to someone else.
Yeah.
And maybe with Nightblood's just like, yo, I'm so invested, I don't care about that. Like, that's not a problem.
But the interesting thing is, like, the sheath only covers the blade. There's still plenty of Nightblood outside of the sheath.
Oh, that's true.
So,
yeah.
Well, I guess it depends how it was made. Like, because sometimes with swords, the hilt is made out of a different
substance. Yeah, it's not the
piece
same. Yeah, it's usually a different
like,
piece.
The fact that Nightblood is completely black, or does it have a?
I think it's
completely black.
It's completely black.
So that does kind of make you think that the hilt is part of it.
It's probably it could be part of a different metal, but like that intention and creation made it all think of itself as one complete whole, right?
Yeah,
like identity wise, Nightblood thinks of that entire sword as himself.
Yeah. So it's like, what is special about the blade part of the sword? Why doesn't the hilt have the same sort of effects?
Sure.
Yeah. It could be something like in the Mistborn series, you can use aluminum to like block certain things without completely being covered.
Oh, that's true.
In it.
Like you know? Yeah, you're pretty safe. You're safe with an aluminum lined hat. You don't have to cover your body.
Yeah. So. Although I don't like that it's a hat, because allomancy is all based in your like chest region usually. So
well, I think
that's just something to me that I don't like, but
I think it
I get why it works, because it's like a field.
Well, also because it works through the cognitive realm. So it's influencing your cognitive aspect. And it makes sense that like your cognitive aspect would be like seated in your brain more than like in your chest. So like I don't know, like the overlap there kind of, it makes sense to me.
Yep. And then one last quote also in chapter 108. Yeah, Borya thinks the weapon I'm chasing passed through their fortress a few years ago. Your bounty is a weapon? And the one who brought it to your land, a Shardblade that bleeds black smoke. Well, I mean, she this might imply that she's gonna hunt down Nightblood first and then go to get Vasher later. Because Nightblood's the more critical thing to find, maybe.
Yeah.
If she's
I just feel like okay, I guess she does have a lead on them both at this point, and Nightblood is a higher priority target.
Yeah,
like personally, I would check with Vasher first.
Well, that could, depending on the way they
parted.
Yeah,
that
could be a deadly encounter, perhaps.
True.
Because that's the thing. Like Vasher and Vivenna and Warbreaker kind of chummy, but they don't actually know each other that well. Like all he's kind of done is teach her Awakening, and they've saved each other's lives a couple times. But like,
I mean, we have to get more of them, and the Nightblood.
We don't know a lot about how their relationship progresses beyond where they stand at the end of Warbreaker. So
yeah, it's anyone's guess.
And Vivenna can be very harsh.
What?
No
way.
I feel like she's also mellowed.
Well, she is.
A good bit.
Yes.
Because she has
she
has a really fantastic conversation with Adolin about like responsibility, and that like sometimes the best thing is to step back and let someone more suited take over.
That's right. Which is yes. That's good.
Which now that I think of that, like totally informs his actions at the end of the book, where he's like, I can't be king.
That's true. Character development. It's totally there.
Yeah.
I just made that connection. Like, I really like that. Okay.
Like, I think that's where Adolin was headed anyway, but I definitely think that
Azure
probably helped him along.
Yep.
Yeah.
Azure, his conversation with Azure let him know that it was okay to think that.
Yeah. And then the last bit of quotes on Azure's blade is this word of Brandon.
Does the sword with inaudible Azure, Brennan makes affirmative noises. Questioner, is it a lot like Nightblood maybe? Brennan, it shares some features, but it is different. Which, yes, we can see that.
Yep. I mean, yeah. So let's analyze what's going on with this sword here. And my thought's pretty simple, that this blade's just what Nightblood would have been if not for this extra oomph that makes him super ultra invested.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It is like, I do feel that it has more in common with traditional shard blades though almost than it does with Nightblood. Like, because Nightblood doesn't like saw through things and like it vaporizes them, and when Nightblood also can like attack things through its sheath, like,
well, I mean,
like it's like it does a lot more stuff than this blade does. Like it's,
I think that's purely just a function of how ridiculously invested Nightblood is.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because we know Nightblood is kind of a third generation blade. Like the honor blades were first, then the spread copied the honor blades, and then Vasher and Shishara copied the radiant blades.
Yes.
Do we think that Azure's blade is still third generation, like same process, or is that a fourth generation learning from the mistakes of Nightblood?
I mean, it really depends on the specific circumstances of Nightblood. I mean, going back to a comment earlier about, Yeasteel knowing the process to make these blades, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if any of the 5 scholars could actually recreate Nightblood without the ludicrous investiture from something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine that even if Yeasteel knew how to make the blades, it would... I think it is... Vivenna's blade is just created by Yeasteel, or them learning the process from Yeasteel, right?
Well, Vasher knows it.
No, Vasher doesn't know everything about it. Shishara knew.
Well, Vasher helped make the sword.
But there are some things Shishara knew about the process that Vasher didn't.
I think Vasher... The reason why Vasher is confused by Nightblood is I think Vasher knows what... I think Vasher would know how to make a blade like Vivenna's.
But is confused about Nightblood.
He doesn't know the extra whatever Shishara had going on that,
sure,
made Nightblood so weird.
Well, it's just I don't think Yeasteel would know and Vasher doesn't. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Well, that really comes down to the quotes. My impression was that Vasher really didn't know the process nearly as well as Shishara did. Nearly as well.
Yeah.
That was the impression that I had.
There have been some quotes from Brandon that really emphasized Vasher's involvement.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it's a case of they designed this process together. Shishara was the main inspiration, and she's the one who went through with it, but Vasher was helping.
Yeah.
But then she just didn't tell him those kind of final whatevers that
she was also doing. She was the one that awakened him. So it's the whole mental command thing, that was on her.
Yeah, and there's a lot of subtlety there, right?
Yeah.
Another interesting thing though, when we're talking about making more of these, is you have to be of the 9th heightening, right? To awaken steel.
Yes.
So like that means that Yasteel or Vasher or possibly Vivenna or someone got to that level of heightening again in order to make this sword. Like maybe they got Susebron to help or something.
Yeah.
Because, he's got lots of breath, but...
Mm-hmm. Like, I would trust Susebron to, like, make one of these swords.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's a nice
very
guy.
Sweet. Yeah. Susebron would not... I don't think Susebron would be capable of having the visualization to make something like Nightblood. He's just such a nice...
Yeah. I mean, that is crazy. I had forgotten that Shashara would have even had the 9th heightening, which is 20,000 breaths. Just had to re-look that one up on that number.
Yeah. So...
Which, like...
Yeah, I think we also don't know, like, the 5 scholars obviously had access to a great deal of breath during this time of study, because, like,
I guess
we know
true.
Vasher had a butt ton of breath, and Shashara obviously did too, and then... So, like, you don't know if they were, like, funded by different kingdoms to do this research, and they were funneling breath into them or what, but...
They were basically in charge of Hollindren, right?
Well, no, the royal family was still in charge of Hollindren.
Well, that's true.
Up until the Many War.
Right.
Yeah.
They were surely important there.
So something that has always, like, I've always wondered about is that Nightblood is metal and is sapient. Like, what if you tried to awaken wood to sapience? Or, like, a not metallic...
Like an organic material that is easier to awaken in the first place, right? Like wood or cloth. Could you get that to a level of sentience?
Yeah. I am an awakened tree.
Yeah.
But here's just an idea straight from that. Awakening a tree. A tree has a cognitive aspect. Yep. Forging a sword, it would maybe have less of one because it is not alive, right?
Well, no, because like you wouldn't be awakening the tree. I don't think that would work.
Could awaken
like
the
you
tree.
would be. It's not. It's alive. I don't think you can awaken things that are alive. It would you'd be awakening like a wooden puppet, like something made of wood, not a tree,
or a skeleton.
Yeah. Well, skeleton would fall under lifeless, I think.
Yeah,
because that's basically what the Durdanier statues are.
Yeah, the Khaled's phantoms.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just bones encased in stone.
We've kind of touched on some of them, some similarities and differences
between Nightblood and Vivenna's blade
and Azure's blade. So one of the things we talked about already was that, it drains the person of color instead of burning their eyes. But it's interesting that when you sever something with a shard blade, the severed part becomes gray.
That's right.
As well, right?
It does.
What is the importance of color in the Cosmere?
Yeah.
Magic!
So I don't know if there's a link between, because shard blades sever the spiritual and cognitive realms as well, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder if color doesn't have some sort of link to that.
Maybe color has a link between the 3 realms or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when that link is severed, the color vanishes, and that might also be, that importance of color might also be why it's used in Awakening. But...
Yeah, I definitely think there's some realmic shenanigans going on there.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that, there's something about the connection between the realms that is, tied to this color. It's you need you need, all 3, in unison, for color to exist. I don't know.
Yeah. Or disrupting that has this common effect on color.
The color. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I would assume that them turning gray is just a similar thing across the Cosmere than like a specific designed thing that Vasher and Shashara intended these blades to do, right? Like that's probably just coincidental to central Cosmere things, right?
Oh yeah. It's like
and so the main difference is just with the Shardblade you have to sever something for it to go gray, and with Azure's blade, if you stab with it, what would normally cause the eyes to burn out just completely drains the body of color.
Does it completely drain the body of color?
Let's reread that quote again.
Yeah, it's remarkably his eyes didn't burn, though his skin did go a strange ashen gray as he died. Okay, I guess that does imply like his whole body. I just envisioned like the area around the wound changed, but I guess.
But I think she stabbed him in like the body somewhere.
Yeah,
and you could see it happening on the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I wonder.
What's interesting too is Nightblood, though, when it's in its sheath and it's attacking, it doesn't do anything with gray, but it does give that black corruption around the wounds when it's in its sheath. Like if you stab Nightblood and its sheath through someone, the wound like gets black.
Yeah, I kind of like view those as very ssimilar things. It's just like Nightblood is like supercharging it. So it's like it's black instead of gray. Yeah.
And it is it's just interesting what Nightblood can do through its sheath, right? Like the aluminum is obviously limiting it in some ways.
But it's so still powerful that like
although I think you do need to open the clasp and have the blade out of the sheath a bit for those. Every time Vasher does it, when he's like tempting people with Nightblood, he undoes it, throws it at them.
Yeah,
and then Nightblood like
okay, you're right.
Yeah, it has to be unleashed.
Yeah, and then Nightblood kind of slowly, I don't know, like some of the scenes, the way it describes it, it almost seems like Nightblood is slowly like pulling itself out, or like
it's so weird. Vasher's just like, I'm just gonna chuck Nightblood at you. Yeah, you'll all be dead. That's fine. Yeah, like it's so funny.
Which kind of says something about Vasher's view of humanity, that he's just like that confident that many people
will not pass.
Are like evil and would not pass.
Well, I think it's more that like if like somebody takes like there's one point where Nightblood is stolen. Yeah. Like while he's in a meeting or something, and he doesn't worry about it because like he knows that like if the person is evil, like they'll be dead by the time he finds them. But like, and if they're good, they're gonna get sick and not want this stupid sword that made them sick.
Yeah. And I think there's also, when he's doing it with groups of people, like there's always a chance that Nightblood will get the evil people to kill the good people who like wouldn't pick up Nightblood, right?
True.
In their battle rage.
I still wonder why Shardblades would make the eyes burn out then, and not say the Vivenna's blades, right? Like, why?
I
can see why Vivenna's blade would make them ashen gray. I can I definitely understand that, but I don't understand the Rosharon burning the eyes.
There's the like eyes are windows to the soul, blah blah blah.
Yeah, right.
But like,
right,
and it's like that's just they were designed to do that. Like and for reasons we don't understand. Like that's important in fighting the fused.
Yeah, and I guess, Roshar eyes are important too. Like when Spren die, their eyes are scratched out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And your eyes change color, like when you hold the honor blades or bond to Spren. Yeah, like okay,
true.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of eye stuff.
On a writerly level, I think why they do something different is Brandon wanting to show that this blade is different than shard blades, right?
Sure.
It serves a narrative purpose, but I think it might just be a function of the worlds being different, and maybe eyes are important, like cognitively or spiritually, on Roshar in a way that they aren't on Nelthus.
I think it's like they're important for some reason in finding the fused, but like Vasher and Shashar might not have really like understood that when they were designing Nightblood, or
it wasn't important to them. They weren't making Nightblood to fight fused. So
still just wonder, like, some weird Shardic influence that Shashara had. Like, man, who knows? It's so hard to say.
Who knows?
I feel like Endowment herself intervened in some way.
Yeah.
Because we know she has plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but I don't have a reason for it. It just...
I mean, we know so little of Endowment that it's like, maybe not, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about the command?
So we can start. So with the command, like, I'm guessing Azure's Blade has a different command.
I mean, I don't think they're going to use the same one.
Yeah.
No.
But it is interesting that... Is it just the command that makes them so different? Is it the visualization? Like, we don't know what else is going on with Nightblood, obviously. But
well, I mean, the extra investiture. I don't think the command has anything to do with the extra investiture, really. I don't see that how
I don't
that
know.
would be
Like,
relevant.
unless the command is what,
or
the visualization connected to it is what. Like, I had a thought a while ago that if Shashara was imagining investiture as evil when she gave the command to destroy evil, and that's kind of why Nightblood has this weird interaction with investiture, or if she... Yeah. But I'm not sure how I feel about it.
I just don't know how that would relate to it being so much more powerful and being so much more invested, to the degree that Brandon had another quote that said, lots of people think Nightblood's a complete waste of investiture. Like, people are like, wow, that is not a good use of investiture. Just straight up, right? Like,
it does give you those, like, Hemalurgy vibes, hey? Where it's, like, inefficient. Like how Hemalurgy is. Like, you're always losing power with Hemalurgy.
It's a negative.
Yeah.
I don't know what sort of command Vivenna's blade would have, but I'm sure it would be different. I don't know what her blade could be, because we didn't get to talk to her blade and see what her personality was like.
Yeah, it is interesting that Vasher and Shashara took a really long time to come. Like, it was a big process to come up with destroy evil. So, like, I don't know. I feel like in my head, I'm comparing Vivenna's blade to, like, the iPhone C. Like, it's like the slightly cheaper model that is missing some features, but is like, gets the job done.
I wonder.
And
we know that, like, it's not just any words work for commands. Like,
yes,
there's specific arrangements that work.
Yeah.
And that's part of a lot of research, is in researching new commands. So it's like,
and you have to match the visualization to the command. And like Vasher, like he talks about how the fingers command, where he gets the tassels on his sleeves to be like his fingers, how that's kind of a complicated command, but he makes it work because he's really good at visualizing, and someone who isn't as good at visualizing couldn't.
Yeah. Well, we see that with in the prologue, fetch keys.
Yeah, that's like the most difficult one.
Yeah, like if you read the annotations, like Brennan talks about how it's like, this is like super difficult thing, and it's like but only like do you realize that in retrospect.
Yeah,
Vasher's
like
so
it's
good.
It's super, and it's interesting. There's so many aspects to Awakening as a magic. So like that Awakening was very simple breath-wise. Like it didn't take much breath at all, but the command was still super complex and like super advanced. So it's kind of a cool.
And it's like there's multiple ways of creating lifeless, but it's like depending on like which commands you use, like some are
It's
more
cheaper
efficient
not.
than others. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like there's only the one command that you can do it with a single breath, which is what makes them
That's what made them powerful.
affordable.
Yeah. Which, like,
And-
in ages past, like, it took 50.
Yeah.
The command
Yeah.
took 50.
And it would be really hard to do research to see what command would work for these blades then, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you...
I want to know how many times they tried a command, but it just wasn't valid, so it didn't work.
Man.
And you do kind of wonder, like, they are advanced enough that they could probably get close before they started testing.
Yeah. Well,
You know, because they know the mechanics of commands and how they work, so they could kind of probably narrow in on, okay, these are the range of things where we think we should be, and these are the ways we should probably phrase.
well, actually,
things, and-
like, I think at 6th tightening, you get, like, instinctive awakening. It's
Mhm.
where it's, like, it's much easier for you to, like, hit on those, like, commands and, like, the required visualization.
Yeah, no, that's so between the heightening and their just general knowledge and experience,
Mhm.
like
they could
that probably helped a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. I mean, Shar had to be 9th heightening to do this in the first place. So.
Yeah. And like you look at Susabron, who with no awakening training is able to, like, within moments of getting his tongue, awaken everything around him to be flying around and, like, tying people up and doing all this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
So, man, we really know so little. But
yeah.
I wanted to talk about what is the role of Nightblood, Vivenna, and Vasher on Roshar? Where
Yes.
are we going with this? Because clearly, Warbreaker was written basically as a prologue, in a
Yeah.
sense, for
Yeah.
that
Brandon
story.
views it as a prologue.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It, like, in his mind, we got Warbreaker before we got Stormlight, but, like, in his mind, it's like Stormlight came first and then Warbreaker.
Right.
And I think aspects of it were a prologue. You know, like
Mhm.
Ciri and Vivenna and their plotline came up as like its own book, right?
Right.
And then he was like, oh, I'm going to combine this with Zahel's origin story kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, he
So-
was still Vasher. Like, in Warbreaker, Way of King's
Right.
Prime, like, he is Vasher.
Vasher. Right. So he makes it Vasher's, but it does kind of indicate that Nightblood has been intended to play a role. And you also kind of wonder how Nightblood, like before, like I think there's a word of Brandon somewhere that says he always intended Nightblood to come from another world. Is that, am I imagining that?
It sounds reasonable.
I don't remember that, but
Okay. One of our listeners can look on Arcanum and clarify that.
That might not be an Arcanum yet, if it exists.
there's
That's
a few
true.
holes.
But anyway, like if it was supposed to be on Roshar from the beginning, or if it was made presumably before Awakening, the magic system was designed.
Yes.
Like it
yeah,
you
because
kinda
at
wonder-
that point, soul casting
Yeah.
was named Awakening.
Yeah. Soul casting was named
And, like,
Awakening.
he specifically came up with it after he wrote Mistborn.
Yeah. So, like, Nightblood being, like, all these effects, it was kind of retrofitted then into Awakening as a magic system, right? Brandon designed Awakening as a system that could create
Nightblood.
this thing that he already had created and could potentially fit in elsewhere, right? So it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it's just so odd how the story could progress with these, because obviously Zeth's very powerful with Nightblood.
Mhm.
Nightblood's ludicrously powerful.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. Although I feel like Seth really needs to learn how dangerous Nightblood is without drawing it,
yeah.
because like he
doesn't
uses
know.
so much Stormlight, And he does it like Vasher shows. Like Vasher does all kinds of stuff with Nightblood, and then only really draws it when it's like an emergency, right?
Seth can get away with it a lot more because Stormlight is way easier to get.
Easier than Breath.
Yeah.
But like still, like he could use Nightblood much more safely than he is currently. And that's kind of what makes Seth almost more dangerous, is he doesn't really know what he's dealing with.
Which is why I'm happy that he's in Urithiru with Zahil. Which...
Oh!
Like...
Oh my god. It's so obvious, but... Wow. We're gonna see Zeth just talk to... That's gonna be crazy!
Like, I just envisioned that, like, Zahil is going to, like, walk by, like, not realizing Nightblood is there, and like Nightblood is gonna like, oh, like go, like that's my father, like go over there, like
hey Vasher,
or it'll be like during like an important meeting or something.
I'm RC, I'm RC Vasher recognizing Nightblood immediately and like
being
sitting
terrified
somewhere, and then Seth walks in and attacking Seth. And just being like, give me that sword, right?
Like because Vasher knows how horribly dangerous it is. Has he been looking for Nightblood? Not easy to tell, because he kind of gave up.
Doesn't seem to be.
Maybe he searched for it a while and couldn't get it back, right? And just like gave up. Like it's so hard to say.
One of the things I've been wondering is, with this quote we had from the Night Watcher saying she could give Dalinar a sword that bleeds darkness.
Yeah.
What if Zahel Vasher went to the Night Watcher and asking for a boon, something along the lines of, I want a safe place to hide Nightblood, or like I want, like maybe he thought leaving it with the Night Watcher, like, and maybe that's why he hasn't been looking, because he's like, oh, Nightblood's like
safe
with like this like creation of cultivation that's super powerful and will wreck people, right? So
I mean, I've read the Zahel interlude quite a few times, and there's like this sense of sadness there for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, but that could be, that doesn't fit perfectly with me.
No,
but that could be. But
yeah.
It would explain why he's so content just to like hang around at the war camps when like Nightblood is hypothetically out there
Though we
somewhere.
still don't know where he was during the events of Way of Kings, because he's away during that time.
True.
But so like this is actually like one of the things where I'm like kind of upset that there's a year gap between books 3 and 4. It's like, okay, I want to see that confrontation on screen, but like it doesn't make sense for that not to have happened in the intervening year.
Unless, do we know, like, Brandon could handle this, like, the last time we see Zahel in person is at the beginning of Oathbringer, right?
It's towards the beginning, I think.
Like that scene where Dalinar is having trouble finding people to train with because all the Ardents don't like him anymore. So Zahel could be somewhere else at this point, but I agree, like, it would be disappointing if it happened off screen, and if they're all just hanging out at Urithiru, it would kind of stretch plausibility for it not to have happened in a year.
Unless Vasher's just like, I mean, if I'm gonna make a confrontation to get this back, I need to win. I have to win. And he's the assassin one white. Okay, that's a problem. You know, like, you could rationalize it like that, but honestly, I think Vasher would immediately attack Zeth. I don't know.
Well, would Nightblood want to go back to Vasher?
I mean, that is a very good question.
Because like if Nightblood wanted to go back, like I don't think Seth would stop Nightblood.
Yeah.
Like once like Seth like understood like understood what was going on, it's like he would give Vasher the sword, I would think.
I think so too. And what the other thing is, like, from the way it's being written, it seems like Seth and Nightblood being a pair has been an intention of Brandon's for a long time.
It's pretty fun, to say the least.
Yeah.
You know, like they seem like this, it seems like maybe he changed his mind or whatever, but this seems like kind of how Nightblood's arc was maybe intended to go always. So, yeah, and like Vasher's not a viewpoint character now, and I kind of doubt he's going to suddenly become a major character.
Not a major character,
but if Seth gave Nightblood back, we would essentially be getting cut out of like Nightblood, because so much of Nightblood is happening in his holder's mind, right? So we're only getting
like,
that.
For the record, I don't think it's going to happen. Just like theoretically, like would, I don't know.
Yeah. Because Nightblood will always think Vasher's proud of him, right? And will always be basically pleased to see Vasher. But, you know, maybe Nightblood grew a bit. You know, we don't know. Vasher might have tried to make Nightblood grow a bit. And maybe the circumstances of their departing, maybe Nightblood remembers that better, but probably not. I don't know. We don't really know.
And like, Vasher might think it's a good idea for Seth to have the sword.
Yeah. And it could also be like Seth like uses Nightblood. So maybe Nightblood is like, oh yeah, like I really like Vasher. Vasher's awesome, but like Seth draws me and stuff.
I get
like,
to destroy
awesome.
evil. It's pretty great.
I get to destroy evil way more with Seth than I do with Vasher.
You know what would be amazing in addition to the High Spren and Nightblood arguing with each other, right? I'm just imagining grumpy Vasher trying to train Szeth, who already clearly knows how to use a blade. Like, no, you need to understand this sword here. Let me tell you about it. And like, man, that's there's so many possibilities for Vasher and Szeth both being in Erytheru to have that progress.
And it's like not just Seth, it's like all of the Radiants, like
and Szeth, yeah, for sure.
And it's just like how do you know the sword? It's like, I helped make it. Because that's going to like, they're going to freak out about that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh. I just thought of like Navani realizing what Nightblood is. Like if Navani ever realizes what Nightblood is, she's going to geek out.
Yeah.
So hard.
Maybe that's why she's cool.
Because like that's one of the greatest Artifabrian like goals, like creating a Shardblade.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's totally true, though. Like, would he just be recruited? He's been lying low, but now that Nightblood's back, he might be recruited into some importance, right? I don't think he's going to be some slumly ardent swordsmaster for long.
Yeah. I think he would want to be, but
I think he'd absolutely want to. He doesn't want to. Yeah, no, of course. He doesn't want to make more of these swords.
And he doesn't want to create... Yeah, he doesn't want to create more swords, so he's going to be very resistant.
He could easily, once they realized he could do that and he just straight up refuses, they could just imprison him.
Like he knows how to make it using breaths, which they don't have a way of getting at this point in time.
Well, true, but
I mean, he has not figured out how to like use
awaken using Stormlight.
Yeah, but maybe he'd be sent on that path, right? Like, oh man. But I still feel like Nightblood itself, other than those very interesting comments about Artifabrians and creating Shardblades and Szeth and Nightblood, I think Nightblood itself is important for Stormlight in the grand plan somehow, and I just don't know why.
We don't know enough, but like what is interesting about Nightblood is it is kind of treated by Brandon, at least in how he describes it, as this weapon of mass destruction, right? And The other thing we see kind of referred to like that on Roshar are the Dawn Shards, potentially.
Well, I connected it more to the Vire's knife. The knife that's used to kill Yezrian. Because I'm pretty sure that's described as leaking black smoke. So what if Nightblood's purpose is to like foreshadow like those things? Like that knife.
Like, is it Pandora's box kind of, you know, once the fused and stuff realize what is possible with Nightblood, they can start like adapting it.
Yeah. Because it as Eric mentioned earlier, like he asked about like, does a fused killed by Nightblood come back? Like, or does that permanently kill them forever? And it seems that like this knife permanently killed Yezrian.
Well, I mean, it could simply be that Yezrian's soul is just trapped in that gem and not destroyed per se, right?
It feels like pretty like there's no coming back from whatever happened to him.
Like I don't know, with the gemstone glowing at the end, that
but like the way like Shalash reacts, like he was ripped out of like whatever happened. So it's like I don't think there's any coming back from that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Given enough power, if that soul's not destroyed, right?
Yeah. I think that's just draining the investiture that makes him a cognitive shadow. Like he went to the beyond. Like that's just like some leftover investiture.
I mean,
that's my theory. That is my theory.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree.
But like, because like it to me, it's very clear. Like that was a final solution to like the Herald problem from the point of view of Odium and his forces. Like there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, I mean, we need a lot more to do.
Because like, and it's like, oh, like you can, because that would just like, if you can come back from it, it's like, what? There's no point to death. Like,
well,
it can just be fixed.
Well, I mean, it could still be like having that body and having that separation and having that body die, like could still like destroy the Oath Pact in that way and the bond that the Heralds have and still have that soul be trapped there, right?
Yeah.
We've been seeing lots of souls trapping in gemstones. That's kind of a thing. Spren being trapped in gems.
Yeah, I just think it's something very different than what we've seen before. Like,
we'll see.
Yeah. But it is interesting, that similarity you pointed out about the dark smoke and it leaving a blackened wound. Like,
is that what it said in that Moash viewpoint?
Yeah, I just pulled it up. So chapter 121, when Moash pulled the yellow-white knife free, it trailed dark smoke and left a blackened wound. The large sapphire at the pommel took on a subdued glow.
It's almost like I wrote the wiki article for that thing a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because it's not black, it's yellow-white, but it does trail dark smoke. And the wound blackens, kind of like
a Nightblood
does
thing
when it's in its sheath.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I would imagine this knife is old of design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very old of design, and not like a thing they made from knowing about Nightblood. But maybe they'll be able to make new things out of that.
The other possibility is if Vasher and Shashara saw things like this knife as well.
I don't think so.
I feel like that would be really hard to do. It's so hard. There's even a jump of logic in them seeing, like, their goal with Nightblood was to create basically a robot.
Sentience.
Right?
Yeah.
How would you know? I mean, I guess you came through Shadesmar, so I guess you kind of would know. But if you were just on the physical realm with all the dead Shardblades, you wouldn't know, so you'd have to like interrogate the Spren and Shadesmar to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, and you see like Vivenna's like trades information with the Honor Spren. Like she says she's going to teach them how to make a sword like hers in exchange for like information about Nightblood.
That's scary.
So
okay, I can never remember. Like, did they intend to make a sapient sword?
Yes.
That was
Okay.
the goal. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's very... Yeah, 1,000 breaths. That was what it took to awaken an object of steel and give it sentience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, the goal seems to be to give it sentience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other stuff
Yeah,
was unexpected.
Yeah, Shashera, she'd learned to forge the breath of 1,000 people into a piece of steel, awaken it to sentience, and give it a command.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing they learned it from the Spren, like in Shadespar.
Yeah, that's the
if they're
only way,
world
because you couldn't figure out that they were Spren if you were just in the physical, but they came through Shadespar, so...
Yeah, so they came through there, they probably stopped at, lasting integrity or celebrant or
and probably be like, oh, what the crap are all these, and study them for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, as per usual, we don't actually know what's going on with Nightblood or where this is going. But do you have any final thoughts on all this stuff?
I don't want to be anywhere near Nightblood.
Well, that's certainly true. That is certainly...
It's like,
certain.
That's one of those things where it's like, I don't even want to, like, go anywhere close to it because, like, I don't know, like, would I pass the test or would I not? Like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my parting thought is just, I've always been really excited that Nightblood showed up in Stormlight Archive because I always thought it was too cool a character and concept for a side series that's only going to have 2 books. So I'm really excited that we're going to get lots of books.
If he's so invested, we could see him in like Mistborn Era 4 or some crazy crap.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. Like, once people start having more crossovers, like, Nightblood could keep showing up. So that's
unless
cool.
he's been chucked into a black hole at that point.
Yep.
Because, like,
yeah,
that's probably what I would do with it. Like,
yeah. Rip Nightblood.
Or destroyed.
I think it would be very difficult to destroy Nightblood.
You'd need a shard to do it, right? You'd need a shard to do it.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really want to know what's going on with Nightblood and where this is going, because I don't.
I think the main question we need answered is that why is it so
really
invested
important
piece?
Yeah.
Like, that's the
because
biggest
if it's a
mystery,
shard,
I think.
then it's like for a plan to do something, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't waste that investiture for literally no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unless, like, if you're right about it, endowment being involved. Like, if Nightblood is basically a missile from endowment to odium. An endowment is like, I'm going to create this really problematic object and then manipulate it so it gets close to odium so it causes him trouble.
Sure, I mean,
but
that's
and
as
that
good
would
a
be
theory as any.
plausible deniability on her end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, that's
Totally.
as good a theory as any.
Oh no, I'm not intervening directly. I'm not.
But I am
interfering
dealing with
other
you.
Shards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Are you guys ready for the best game show ever? Who's that Cosmere character? All right. Our first one is from Stuart Cunningham. And he... Ben and I had a discussion on one of these clues, but I think I'll just present it to you as stated. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
This character is not human.
Human.
Actually, yes. It is actually human.
Oh my god. Human
Well done.
Nicolas.
Human Nicolas, yes. Yes, Human Nicolas.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
human,
all right.
yeah.
No, that was you got that one. I thought it was clever.
It's a very clever hint. I was just throwing it out there as a joke answer, honestly.
The other clues are this character is from Scadrial. This character is male.
Yeah.
This character has interacted with Vin. And this character is hemalurgically spiked, which really leads you down that Tensoon route, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I assume, like, if we had gone through that, we would have guessed
Probably,
Tensoon.
Yeah.
I didn't, once Tensoon's eliminated, right?
But that could have been most of the or Sir Kanpar.
Yeah.
Does Kanpar
Oh no.
interact with
Oh
men?
no.
I'm not sure.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that one would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
would we
I
count
like that
like
one though.
Steel Inquisitors as human?
Yeah, so that was the discussion Ben and I had, is like, do we count Kolos as human? And like, I would say no, but there's enough wiggle room that we wanted to discuss it.
Yeah, like I would say that like once you're a hemalurgic construct, like you are no longer human.
Technically.
You're no longer human. Well, like when Sazed makes them into a species that breeds true,
right? Not human.
They're like,
all right.
Well, they still like make humans babies.
Yes.
And it's like they still need the spikes to become. So it's like they did not become a distinct species. He just restored the ability to procreate upon them.
I want to know more about that because we really don't know very much.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be a thing holding that we're holding back for like Era 3 or something. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to do a really good hemalurgy podcast once we get the table.
Oh man.
And just
we should add that to our list right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are you ready for the next one? That one Mistborn stuff, man. You're here, Matt, so it's always dangerous.
I didn't get Chandelariel though, and that should have been
I know. It was my triumphant
that
moment.
should have been the one I got the easiest.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. First clue. This character died.
Kelsier.
No.
Tindwyl.
No. Like how you're just already on the Scadrial train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This character was in the lower class.
Tien.
No. Character died?
That's a good guess, though. Died lower class. Sen.
No.
Okay.
This character didn't utter a death rattle. Not Sen.
Yeah, not Sen. So maybe they're not on Roshar, or they're on Roshar, but they didn't utter a death rattle.
Like, I feel like if that's a clue, it has to be on Roshar. Otherwise, it's like, oh, this person has never seen a spread. Like,
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna go out on a wild limb here, and I'm gonna guess Karata.
Whoa! No.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but
it's like the only person I can think of is Maps, but like Maps said a death rattle.
Yeah.
So. Okay. So, next clue.
This character is female.
Female, dead. Death rattle. These are very vague clues.
Is
so this
it
person's doing a
the
good
girl
job of...
that like Caledon like stops the bleeding, like in like one of the early flashbacks, like he does like all this work to like stop the bleeding, but like it's not enough to save her. Like she dies like while he's focused on this like one wound.
No, it's not that person.
Okay.
I know the character you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I remember too. Don't remember her name though. But it is not her. It's not her. What about you, Matt? Who'd you got?
Is it...
You already eliminated Karada, which, you know, is...
Does that count as my guess?
Yes. Because
Okay.
I was generous in that you didn't know her name, and I'll let you have that guess. So
Yeah.
that was it.
I don't have anything for this clue, so you can have mine, we'll say.
Is
Wow.
it Tin?
If that's okay.
No.
Okay.
Next clue.
Clue 5. This character was shy.
Like SHY.
Yes. Not was past tense shy from Emperor's Soul. Yes. No, SHY shy.
There. Email.
They're really trying to trick us now. That's
Is it Vin?
Yes, it is Vin.
I'm so mad.
Okay.
So that's why they had the vague clues, because it was a really major
Right,
character.
exactly.
That makes sense.
Trying to lead you on the Rosharon.
I am not a fan of the no death rattle clue, because that's like intentionally like just like screwing with us.
I mean,
Yeah.
true.
In that way, it's really good. Like, it's really misleading. Like, that person did a good job of leading us down a path that was not the path to the right answer.
And this one was from
I
Josh.
feel like it should be figure outable, not just through random guessing.
Hey, Matt totally figured it out. He got it. Vin, 10 out of 10.
Fifth clue.
Well, this is from Joshua Harkey, so
Isn't that Joffwu?
I think so.
Okay, I'm going to yell at him.
I think so. I'm not. I mean,
Okay.
Cool.
He would know that he would need to work hard to trick us.
Yeah.
I liked the one that we had that was Shalon a while back. That was a good one.
Yeah, I think that was like from our first
One of our first
session.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for listening, guys. I hope you know more about Nightblood and Vivenna's Blade and Vivenna, but I mean, we really don't know very much. So there you go. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, but Twitter's way better because you'll actually see our posts rather than Facebook where you won't. And follow us on 17shard.com and make sure to subscribe on YouTube, like, or follow on SoundCloud. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Caw.